Hey everybody, it's another episode of the Fantasy Football Breakdown. You're going to notice we're a little light this week, but me and Mr. Dutton are going to be bringing you all the fantasy football information you need as FanDuel Fee is on sabbatical for we gave him a week. We'll see what happens next week actually, because he just told us a little while ago that he wasn't going to make it tonight. But that's neither here nor there. What is here nor there is Mr. Dutton. Dutton, how are you?
Am I right? How about you? I mean, my fantasy team is not okay. I'm trying to trade them all right now, but we'll see what happens.
Just for our listeners to know, Mr. Dutton put a fire sale up on our chat board at around 9:30 last night. Week three, is it fantasy overreaction or is Dutton going to make the move?
I'm trying to make moves.
Yeah, I haven't even had a chance to look at your roster yet, but I like trade, so I'm not
I
really.
know. Hey, anybody want Jamar Chase? They can have him. Anybody want Aaron Jones? Those are the only two players that are actually doing anything on my team.
Nice, nice. So
Actually,
we're
Jamar
gonna
Chase isn't doing anything. So
so, so as you know, first down is buy it or bullshit, shit. And Dutton is actually trailing on the season 2 weeks to one, but he gets the
can't
automatic
lose this
W
week.
this week. But that doesn't mean you get out of answering the questions. I'm still going to ask you the questions, and you're going to give your opinions to the crowd, and then I'll fire back what we think. So let's get started. Buy it or BS, San Diego. Los Angeles Superchargers head coach Brandon Staley is in over his head. Dutton, what do you think?
I totally buy it. Last year, we blamed his inability to call timeouts and clock management and going it on fourth down of rookie mistakes. But what's the excuse this year? And yeah, I know Justin Herbert's hurt, but that team is better than what they are performing. And may I remind our listeners, they lost to the Jaguars.
They didn't lose to the Jaguars. They got pummeled by the Jaguars.
That's valid. That's valid. Add that to
And
the list.
and to your point, sorry, I had to pull it up. Justin Herbert is hurt, and he ran the ball 12 times. Why you have Austin Eckler? You went out and got Sony Michelle. Why are you not trying to run the ball a little bit? Right? You
Right?
have
I'm
two good
valid.
running backs. So yeah, I agree with you. I think he's in over his head. And I also agree with you that they have too much talent. They may even be
Yeah.
better than last year, and they're worse. Right?
They're
Like,
worse. Everyone was talking about them as being the team to possibly compete with the Chiefs, right? Like
yeah,
it was
right.
a balancing act between them and the Raiders, like who's going to compete with the Chiefs, and I don't think any of them are going to compete with the Chiefs.
Well,
So
no, I mean, we talked about the Raiders last week, and then I mean, I just don't get it. The
yeah,
game planning doesn't make sense. It is the Josh McDaniel effect. So what we're looking at here is 2 weeks worth of these questions. Is AFC West was supposed to be the best conference division in football, and it's arguably the worst right now. Right? I
it
mean, Kansas City,
possibly could be.
the Chiefs lost to the Colts. The Colts are terrible. Okay, moving on to question
Yeah, they're
number
not good.
two.
They're not good.
Yeah, yeah. I did this might touch
I can't do you.
might touch home on you a little bit. The Packers offense, Dutton, is too predictable. Buy it or BS.
I'm buying that as well. They are too predictable because they scored 14 points against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and somehow won because Tom Brady doesn't know how to hike a ball on a 2 point conversion, right? I mean, that's the only reason that they win that game. They scored 14 points. Yes, they could have scored 21. They fumbled at the goal line on an amazing hit by Vita Vea. But yeah, I mean, that's another what if. Like, and I think you brought it up at one point. What if AJ Brown waited one extra week, right? And
Right.
he has Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball, but maybe he's not regretting having Jalen Hurts throwing the ball. And I'm not a Jalen Hurts fan, but he's actually looking pretty good. But to your question, I mean, the Packers offense is run on first down, most likely run on second down,
Yeah.
maybe throw a 5 yard pass and hope to get the 6 yards you need on third down. Every now and then throw a deep ball that one of the receivers won't catch.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, they're too predictable, but yet they're 2-1. And they beat my team last week at home in a game that we had no business losing. And like, so the listeners out there know my daughter's a Packers fan, and she's like, "We beat you." I was like, did you beat us, or did we beat ourselves? Because that's the bigger question. Did the Packers win that game, or did the Bucs lose that game?
I know. And here's, to go with what you're saying, the Green Bay Packers have played 3 quarters this year. They played 3 fourth quarters this year. They've scored 7 total points in all 3 of those 3 quarters and 1 field goal in all 3 of those fourth quarters. 10 second half points. What we're seeing is a team that is completely, they go in at halftime and they're figured out, right? They have no offense in the second half. Last week they didn't score at all. They didn't score at all. And it's, you play a defense like the Bucs. I agree with you. The Bucs lost that game because the defense, Green Bay wasn't going to do anything, right? They can't. And it reminds me a lot of the Matt Schaub, Arian Foster, Andre Johnson years, right? You knew it was coming, but you couldn't stop it. You hand it off to Arian Foster on first down. You hand it off on second. You actually thought that he was Jonathan Taylor-esque and they were going to hand off on third down, but you did the play action, then you hit Andre Johnson for the 70-yard touchdown. It was that play action that kept them unpredictable, even though you knew it was coming. The Packers don't have that because their best receiver is Aaron Jones, right? So your whole game is predicated in the backfield, and it's just not working right now.
Yeah,
go ahead.
It's only going to be worse this week because A.J. Dillon is banged up, right? So now.
I mean, and all the receivers are banged up. Dobbs looks good, but Cobb looks great. And the guy's, 32 years old? I mean, great comparatively speaking. He wasn't supposed to be the guy that Aaron Rodgers is looking for as much as he is.
Right.
But let's stay in the backfield and go to a guy that I know you like, but you know that I don't.
I know you don't.
That's Joe Mixon. Is Joe early season overreaction, but is Joe Mixon is still a RB1 fantasy option? Buy it or BS?
Okay, so I'm going to come at this from a 2-pronged approach. If you're looking at volume of carries, then yes, he is a RB1 because he had 27 attempts in his first game, 19 in his second game, and 12 in his third game. All that being said, totally, he's rushed for 163 yards on 58 carries this year. So we're averaging just about 3-point-something yards a carry, 2.8 yards per carry. I don't know. I mean, the Bengals offense is going to figure it out, but are they going to figure it out and actually use Jamar Chase, who everybody probably picked in their first round in some sort of fantasy draft, right? I don't think Jamar Chase was around in many second rounds. Are they going to use T. Higgins more? Is Joe Mixon going to become more of the scat back, old school, you remember, Giants fans remember Dave Meggett type, right? Where they can use him that way. But as a running back who's going to get carries and yards, I don't know. That offensive line improved, but when you improve from 0 to 1, it still doesn't make you great, right?
Right. Absolutely. And Larry was at the game. Big Larry was at the game last weekend. He kept saying, the Jets defense, the only thing they did right today was contain Mixon. Their rush defense was awesome, but Margie Perrine averaged 5.3 yards a carry. He only had 9 carries and reeled off almost 56 yards, whatever it was. I don't know the exact number. I don't have it in front of me, but so it wasn't that the Jets rush offense was doing anything. It was Joe Mixon was doing nothing.
Right.
And it's the second week in a row he did nothing. And
I mean, and his carries are down. Like, he went from 27 to 19 to 12. So that's a huge drop in just 3 weeks.
And he was off the field for a little bit he dinged up his ankle, but he came back, right? It wasn't like it was a game-ending injury. So that explains a little bit why the big drop, but still it's a consistent drop, like you said. And it's like you said, the offensive line, it's improved, but I mean, upgrading from me to you isn't an upgrade. It's just on paper, it says it's better. We're still going to get plowed over. Like the Giants lineman did against Micah Parsons the other. I mean, that was that Giants offensive line this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but that was one of the worst offensive line performances. I'm tired of people blaming Danny Dimes.
I agree.
That guy had no time to think. By the time he got the "k" of hike out of his mouth, the Parsons was in the backfield. It was awful.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, no, I like your two-pronged approach there, because volume-wise, he seems like if he's healthy, he's gonna still out-touch Perrine, of course. I mean, that's a no-brainer, but I don't know, he's just not performing like it right now. But we are going to talk about someone that is fantasy football breakdown, longtime favorite, James Robinson. Buy it or BS, James Robinson is back, baby.
Oh, I'm buying it. I'm totally buying it. I mean, give him the ball, feed the beast, let him be Zeke Elliott, eat all the cereal he can, right? Like, yes, let's do it, because he deserves it. We love him. We've been telling everybody he's good, and now we're seeing the fruits of our labor.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's what we said at the end of the last season, Urban Meyer, right? That was the problem. Why is this guy in anybody's doghouse? And it just shows that Urban Meyer had no feel for the professional game. If someone
absolutely,
he's a likable guy, he's a fan favorite, and he's good.
He's great. Yeah, and he's going to be the reason that team keeps going places, right? I mean, because
and Trevor Lawrence looks pretty damn good, right? Like this is like I think they're, again, early season overreaction. I don't think that the Colts, Titans, or obviously Texans can even come close to it. I think the Jaguars win the AFC South.
Okay, so here's my question for you, because when you threw this up earlier today, I put this in my head. I'm not saying they're going to the Super Bowl. By any means, the Jaguars are not going to the Super Bowl.
Right.
Dunton is not saying that. But are they this year's version of the Bengals minus the Super Bowl run? Like, are they this year where all of a sudden they catch lightning in a bottle? They're in a division that's way down compared to what people thought they were going to be, and nobody's really paying attention to them. And they're playing that last place schedule, which helps you, right?
Yeah. I mean, they could definitely win 10 games, sneak into the playoffs, and get hot. And obviously, we saw that they could beat the top teams, right? They manhandled the Chargers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I agree with you on the extent that I don't think they're Super Bowl ready, but
no,
you could definitely get hot and make some noise down the stretch. Yeah. I think without a doubt, I think they already are.
I don't think the Jaguars will be picking in the top 5 in the draft next year.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do think they win the AFC South, whether that's with a 9-win season,
barring injuries and whatnot. Yeah, I agree.
But they have too much talent. Christian Kirk looks like a good number 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's legit. He's coming through every week. James Robinson, Etienne. I mean, this is loaded.
They got it.
It's all about the defense too, but we'll see how that holds up, because it looked damn good this week.
Yeah.
All right, last buy it or BS. Matt Rule is killing fantasy football by being the world's largest buffoon. Buy it or BS?
No, I'm totally buying it. I mean, this guy should not be a coach. I still can't believe. I mean, they won. They got to win. But I don't see him lasting the entire season in my backyard of Charlotte here, right? I don't. Like, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what play calling they're doing. I don't understand. You have Christian McCaffrey healthy. You better use him now, because he won't be healthy come November. So use him while you can.
Agreed. Agreed.
Baker Mayfield is not an awful quarterback.
He's playing like one.
But he is playing like one. But is that because of coaching? Like, is that play calling?
DJ Moore is one of the best wide receivers in the game, talent-wise. He's not putting up the numbers. Robbie Anderson is a year removed. Last year was injury riddled, but the year before that, he was a 1,000-yard receiver. How are you not utilizing, and McCaffrey, who you already mentioned, I mean, that's a no-brainer. How are you not utilizing these guys? Yeah, McCaffrey had 100 yards last week, but still, I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson would be welcome additions to the Green Bay Packers wide receiver room, right?
Oh, my goodness.
Like, Aaron Rodgers would be salivating right now for those two guys.
Yeah, and I'm not saying the Packers should be on a Super Bowl level, but that division is wide open with with the Bucks off to the start that they are. Right. And you're not capitalizing with 2 of the best offensive players in the NFC. Come on.
Right.
Like, the guy, and I don't understand the track record, but then again, this is the team that kept Ron Rivera around every year, and everyone's like, how does this guy still have a job?
That's because he made the one Super Bowl run and they wanted to be loyal. But yeah, I mean, he was a question mark when they hired him.
Right. And he hasn't done anything to answer those questions. Not
Nothing.
one thing.
It's like my students who turn in the paper and say IDK on the question. They don't even try to answer it. IDK.
I mean, in the words of FanDuel Fee, there is enough fantasy goodness on that team that and there was plenty of people that drafted Baker Mayfield, of course, not as a starter, but with hopes that new scenery, two good receivers, the best receiving running back in football, that he would at least be a serviceable backup bye-week replacement. And right now, he's not that. He's not that. So I think Rule is killing fantasy goodness.
I think Rule is killing a franchise. I think he's killing fantasy goodness. I think he's killing a lot of things.
Is the owner of the Panthers the owner of the Cleveland Indians in Major League? What was her name? Are they trying to move to Vegas or something?
They're actually, it's funny you say that because they're trying to move to South Carolina.
Oh.
They're trying to get out of Charlotte. That's the rumor. They want to move. They want to build like the whole like Jerry World Carolina version down by Furman University, where they have their training camp already, and build a huge indoor stadium where they can host a Final Four, because they think a Final Four needs to be hosted somewhere near here because of college basketball and all this. And Charlotte doesn't have the room for it. So you might be onto something. You might be onto something.
Okay, well, that wraps up Buy It or BS. So let's move to second down and Calvin Ridley's locks of the weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, we're 3-0 on the season. Why are we 3-0, Dutton?
Because of the Detroit Lions.
Not only did we hit the Detroit Lions last week, Dutton said the score was going to be 27-24. The Lions are going to lose, but they'll cover again. The score was 28-24, but that's still pretty damn impressive. And the Lions did cover again. It didn't matter because it was a 6-point spread. So the question now is, last week we touched on, again, my preseason prediction of 10 games is kind of in jeopardy, right? Maybe they don't win those. Will they go 17-0 against the spread, Dutton? What do you think?
Oh, it's hard because I think they're getting too many points, or getting, I don't know. They're -4 this week, and I question the -4 against the Seahawks, because anytime the Lions are favored, we got to be weary. Right?
I know. I agree.
This week will be a true test to our Detroit Lions fan base that we've created here on the Fantasy Football.
Well, it'll be a test for the Lions as well. Do they come through for us? Right. We have a lot of faith in them.
We do.
Us? I think it's a reciprocal.
Right.
Let's go to this week. Last week, like I said, we won. We're 3-0 as a fantasy football breakdown. FanDuel Fee once again made 2 picks, because we say make 1 pick a week, and Fee picks 2 every week, and he's gone 1-1 every week. So I guess he's just hedging himself and guaranteeing he gets one right. Dutton, you're now 2-1 on the season. I lost my first game. I took the Giants, giving a 1.5, and they, as we mentioned, their offensive line forgot to play football, so they lost. So I'm 2-1 on the season. So 3-0 for the show. Fee is 3-3. Dutton's 2-1. I'm 2-1. What do you got for us this week, Mr. Dutton?
Okay, as much as I love the Lions, I really need to know what Vegas knows that we don't know, and FanDuel Fee has the same question. Why are the Dolphins? Fee has 3.5. I just saw it as 4-point underdogs to the Bengals. Is it the Bills letdown hangover? Like, what is it? Is there something we're not getting? Is Tua have a concussion? Are they worried about the hurricane? Like, what is it going on?
Is the Tua injury? Is it that bad? Right? Jalen Waddle's banged up. Like, everything is pointing that these guys are going to play, but are they not? Right? And it's like you said, Vegas knows, right? Vegas doesn't mess around. So it's a tricky one. But if Mixon's banged up for the Bengals, T. Higgins was knocked out in the game last week.
Yep.
I think the injuries are almost, counter that. Yeah. I agree with you. I don't understand how the 3-0, right? 3-0 Dolphins?
3-0 Dolphins.
3-0 Dolphins that just beat the Bills, who everyone thinks is the best team in football, with a quarterback that looked like he was going to pass out, and probably looking at 22 people on the field. Right? That's how woozy Tua looked. It was my back. Like, come on.
My back. What part of your back was hurt when your head slammed to the ground?
Right. So is that your pick? You're taking the Dolphins?
as much as I want to take the Dolphins, I can't give up on the Lions. I can't. -4 at home against the Seahawks. The Seahawks, I don't know. Geno Smith. I'm going with the Lions. I'm sticking with the Lions.
I think it's a great pick. And Fee does have written down that he wants Miami. So Fee will take Miami. And I'm going to take, and this is probably going to be, last week was probably their Super Bowl, and this is probably going to be a huge letdown pick. But I'm going to take the Falcons getting a 1.5 against the Cleveland Browns. The Falcons are 2 plays away from being 3-0 this year.
They are.
They're literally 2 plays away. And Mariota looked like he righted the ship. He was looking Kyle Pitts' direction, which was big miss for the first 2 games. And Drake London looks really, really good.
Really good.
I still think, I said it in the preseason, so far he's proving me wrong. I think Cordero Patterson comes crashing back to earth, but right now he's red hot. I know the Browns defense has looked good, particularly against fantasy points. They're not letting up a lot on their defense, but I just like the way the Falcons look. So I'll take the Falcons getting a 1.5. Dunton, you put in Detroit giving 4, I should say. Sorry, not
giving 4. Yep.
And then Miami getting 3.5 or 4 points. We've seen 2 different spreads, but either way, remember our weekly reminder. This is Wednesday night. Those lines could change. Although the Dolphins line is probably pretty set because by the time you're listening to this, they're going to maybe playing. Right. I mean, I'm not going to argue locking in the Lions as the pick of the week. I
told you, until they let us down, we have to keep going with them. We've been riding the Lions for a long time right now. When you go back to last year, and the first 3 weeks of this year, we're on a run here.
Yeah. So Lions are the pick of the week. Let's see if we can go to 4-0 with our boy. Restore the roar, gentlemen. Restore it. Now, third down is usually stacks of the week, and I got good news for you. FanDuel Fee is here to give you his stacks of the week. Hi, everybody. I'm FanDuel Fee. Go Giants. Go Mets. I'm FanDuel Fee. So, FanDuel Fee, what do you have for us this week in your stacks? This week, I really like Russell Wilson. He's at 7,100, and you can pair him up with Cortland Sutton against Las Vegas. And what I really like to do there is to bring Devonte Adams back. So Russell Wilson, Cortland Sutton stack with Devonte Adams coming back. Conversely, you could take David Carr.
Derek, not David. Derek.
Oh, go Texans. Go Texans. And Giants backup for Fee. Derek Carr at 7,200 with Adams and bring Sutton back. You got to bring it back.
He loves that game.
Of course, we love the Detroit Lions here, so I'm going to tell you that Jared Goff and Jamal Williams this week getting the start for DeAndre Swift are a unique set versus Seattle. One-offs that I like this week, and I'll talk about Wayne. We'll talk about him a little bit more in starts, is Noah Brown at 5,600. And if Amon-Ra doesn't play, I like DJ Shark at 5,700. Big time. That's what it says on the sheet. FanDuel Fee. What is it, Wayne? We actually have a viewer question for you that maybe you could help with. Go ahead. Okay, so the question comes from longtime listener Varas. I'm allowed to say his name now, ladies and gentlemen. And he wants to know what FanDuel Fee likes on defense in DFS and what flexes at 6K or lower. Good question, Varas. Thanks for asking. I can't do a good Fee voice, but
you're doing a good job. You're doing amazing. I love it.
One defense that catches my eye is the Detroit Lions at 3,600 against Seattle. If I have some salary left over, I may go up to the Commanders at 38 versus Dallas. As far as flexes under 6K goes, I love Tony Pollard at Washington right at 6K would be a good one. Wade will talk about him again more, but Noah Brown at 5,600 could be huge. And there's not a lot to choose from this week under 6K, so those are my 2 choices. That's all I got for you this week. Let's go win some money. Thanks, FanDuel Fee.
You did a great job, Fee. Good job.
Good job, Fee. We'll see you next week. Go enjoy your night off. So there you have it, folks. Again, just for the Varas asked a question about defenses to pay down for, and FanDuel Fee said 3,600 on Detroit he liked. and 3,800 on the Commanders. He also likes Pollard and Noah Brown for flexes under 6K. So let's move on to our starts and sits. Last week, I mean, we were pretty much perfect as on the fantasy football breakdown. Our starts of the week were quarterback was Kirk Cousins. He finished 10th overall. So whether you're a 10-team league or a 12-team league, that's a starter. Damian Pierce was our running back. He was the 8th best running back, so he clearly was a good start. Hollywood Brown was the 12th best wide receiver, so obviously a good choice there. Tyler Higbee was the 13th best tight end, so he's right on that lip. As we tell you every week, we mark our guys 3 different colors. Green means good, red means we missed bad, and orange means they're right on that cusp. So if you finish 13th, you probably were serviceable enough, but we're not proud of ourselves. We wish we did a little bit better. Our sits of the week at quarterback, again, Aaron Rodgers was the 13th best quarterback. So right there on that line, you probably could have walked away with a win if you start him, but we wish we did a little bit better. Alvin Kamara pooped the bed. He was the 36th best running back. Rashad Bateman was the 66th best receiver. And Mike Gesicki was the 55th best tight end, which is a lot like the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line, right? Like you're going from the 0 offensive line to 1. There, I didn't even know there's 55 tight ends in the league, but there was apparently 54 tight ends that scored better than him.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I think that was the wrong number when I looked at it, but I wrote it down because I thought it was funny to read that.
Yeah.
But let's move on to this week's starts and sits. And luckily, Fee gave us his. I won't bring Fee back out, but we can give you 3 options and then pick our fantasy football breakdown choice. So, Dunton, we'll get started with you at quarterback. What do you think?
I'm going with Kirk Cousins again. I know he's going across to London, I believe, this week, 9:30 start.
You sound like you're from London.
Hello, Governor. I mean, put on a show over there, Kirk. Throw the ball to Justin Jefferson. Throw it to Adam Thielen. We love him. Let the people in London see some exciting.
That he has Justin Jefferson still? He knows that he has him, right?
What?
Kirk Cousins is aware that he has Justin Jefferson still.
Yeah, he'll find him again. I think they have a long flight across the pond. They'll talk. They'll get together. So, I mean, he was 10th best last week. The Saints defense is traditionally good, but they're not very good this year. They're not their normal Saints defense. So I'm going with Kirk Cousins again this week.
Yeah, and to Justin Jefferson's defense, he literally was triple teamed last week on some. That's why KJ Osborne, was wide open on that game-winning touchdown. Fee took Jared Goff against Seattle, which I think is a good pick, and I'm going to tell you to go Joe Burrow because he's had some hit or miss weeks this year. I think teams that drafted him probably have a solid backup, and he's kind of a question mark, especially with injuries going, like we mentioned, T. Higgins and Joe Mixon. But I think he's a safe start. Miami, they are 3-0, but Josh Allen had his worst week of the season last week against Miami and threw for 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. If that's the worst week they're allowing, I think Joe Burrow is full steam ahead. Who do we want to pencil in as the fantasy football breakdown?
Let's go with Joe Burrow. Let's go with Burrow.
You go with Burrow.
Short week, a lot of question marks. Cincinnati's at home. Got to right the ship. Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. So running back, Dunton, we'll let you start again.
I mean, you're probably starting him, but if you're considering not starting Aaron Jones, please start Aaron Jones this week. The Patriots defense is not the Patriots defense at all of what they used to be. Is Mac Jones even playing? I don't think so.
Oh, Brian Hoyer's season, baby.
Yeah. I mean, the Packers are 9.5-point favorites, I think, the last I saw. I don't think they're going to have a better line than that this entire season. They're in Lambeau. Yeah, and like I said earlier, A.J. Dillon's banged up, so it's going to be a lot more Aaron Jones. So, yeah. I mean, Aaron Jones has been playing well. I mean, I know
it's been a full split. It's been it is literally 50-50. Maybe it's 51-49, but it's right there.
Yeah, and like we talked about, they're going to run the ball a lot because until they get those wide receivers cooking, they have to control the ball and keep other teams off the field. And, I'm going Aaron Jones.
Fee is telling you to start Khalil Herbert. I think that's a great pick. He lit up the Texans. The Giants just gave up 180 yards rushing to Tony Pollard and Zeke combined, as well as a touchdown to Zeke. If Montgomery, even you know what, even if Montgomery isn't out, I think Herbert is the start here because they're obviously not going to push Montgomery too hard.
Right.
I think Herbert is a good start, and I'm going to tell you to start Jamal Williams. They're playing the Seahawks. Fee said to take off because the Seahawks defense is terrible. The Seahawks are allowing 20 points per game to the running backs. So the 29th worst fantasy defense against running backs. Jamal Williams has looked good in a timeshare. Now, he is Jamal Williams. This guy, I don't believe he's capable of 150 yards and 3 touchdowns, but I do think a 50-yard, 2-touchdown day is very possible, and that's a great day at the end of the day.
Heck yeah, it is. Let's go with Jamal. Let's go. I like it.
Let's lock in Jamal.
Yeah.
All right. So without Fee, Dunton, you're going to keep starting. So go ahead.
Okay. My next one, I'm going with Mr. Michael Pittman Jr. going against the Atlanta Falcons. The Colts pulled off a huge win last week that nobody was expecting against the Chiefs, and I think they're going to start to show us the team that we thought they would be. Matt Ryan is going to open it up a little bit more. Just like last year, Jonathan Taylor starts slow, but he's going to pick it up. And once teams have to key in on him, that's going to open up the ball more being thrown around. And I'm telling you, there's something going on between Pittman and Ryan. I really like Pittman this week against the Titans.
I like Pittman. But I also want to point out last year with Jonathan Taylor, he faced off his first 4 of his 5 games were against 4 of the best rush defense.
Yep.
This year he's played the Texans, the Chiefs, who are not good against the run, right? Like it's a much different story, but he is going to get rolling. He's Jonathan Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Fee picked Amari Cooper versus Atlanta, and his note is because of the volume.
And it's not a bad note at all.
No, it's true. He gets a ton of volume, and he looks good. And as we mentioned, I want to talk about Noah Brown. I think it's a kind of a wait and see. Michael Gallup is practicing again. Obviously, if he comes back, that will cut into Noah Brown. But Noah Brown has had at least 5 targets. He's making very athletic catches too, so he's earning the trust of Cooper Rush. And Cooper Rush has played very well. He's still a bit erratic on his throws, so he's going to want someone he could trust. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb has it. CeeDee Lamb not falling off with Cooper Rush says all you need to know about Cooper Rush, right? Not to mention CeeDee Lamb dropped a perfect pass from Cooper. Perfect, and dropped it, and it should have had a much bigger.
And laughed about it, which I was like, hey, you don't laugh about that.
Right. But I do think if the Commanders we saw last week got shredded by Hurts and the Eagles, absolutely shredded. Devonte Smith was making those crazy catches, and Noah Brown has shown that athletic ability. I think if Gallup isn't back and Brown is still in that number 2 role, he has a huge game. So I will say, as a precursor, if Gallup is back and there's a lot of mouths to feed, I do think Drake London against the Browns is going to be a great start because I think he's really gelling with Mariota. That said, who would we like to lock in? I do like the Pittman pick.
Yeah, but I like Fee's pick of Cooper too because I'm kind of with him on the volume there, right? And yeah I mean, let's go with Cooper. I mean, because your Noah Brown one is a great pick, but there's a question mark around that. So,
but again, if Cooper's, if Brown is a go and Gallup is held out, that's going to be a good start.
Yeah, for sure.
If you have him on your team, watch that injury report. We're moving on to tight end. Fee, Dutton, who are you starting?
I'm going with Freiermuth versus the Jets. I think the Steelers have got to figure out, is Mitch Trubisky going to be their guy? And they don't have a lot of time to figure it out. So open it up this week, see what they can do against the Jets, use their tight end. The Steelers are notoriously known for using their tight end as a safety net, safety blanket, whatever you want to call it. This could be like a 58 yards and a touchdown and like 4 or 5 catches a day. And if you're getting that from a tight end, you're in heaven. So I'm going with that.
And last week he's typically a target machine. last week he wasn't a target machine and turned 2 catches into 45 yards, right? So
Right.
he's got big play capability.
Yep.
And again against the Jets, I think that's a great pick. Fee took Kittle against the Rams. Um, the Rams are, I do agree with the pick. Strategically speaking, Kittle is always an injury concern. He always scares the bejesus out of me. The guy could break his leg, coming out of during pregame announcements.
Right.
I'm going to tell you, Robert Tonyan, the Patriots defense has allowed 4 touchdowns to tight ends this year. That's the most in the league. It just seems like, again, like Dunton, you said, it could be a 45-yard, 1 touchdown game, and that's gold from a tight end right now, right?
You know what's interesting with that, and I like that pick, by the way, is that for the last 2 or 3 years that we've been doing this show, we've talked about Aaron Rodgers hates tight ends, and that is going to be his favorite target this year.
Yeah. He definitely, he's someone he trusts, right? He's got the hands.
Yeah, so let's go with him. I'm going with him.
I'll go with him. Okay, I was gonna say Booth, but I could go with Tonyan.
Yeah, let's go with it.
All right, so let's do a quick recap. Joe Burrow at quarterback is your fantasy football start of the week. Jamal Williams at running back, Koopa Doop at wide receiver, and Robert Tonyan at tight end. Which brings us to sits. Dutton, you're on drugs again. You go.
I am on drugs.
You start taking crap when we get the sits.
I'm giving you an interesting sit this week, and it's not because I'm a homer. It's because
it's 100% because you're a homer.
It's not. It's because it's the only thing that this team is doing right is playing defense.
That is true.
And look, I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes is not going to have a decent day. He's Patrick Mahomes, right? But that Bucs secondary is really, really good. And the Chiefs are missing Tyreek Hill. Say what you want. They are missing Tyreek Hill. And not having him in their lineup, I think, allows the Bucs to even do more. They get pressure. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes can escape pressure. But look, 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, that's a subpar day for Patrick Mahomes. So I'm going
especially when you draft him, yeah. So let me tell you this. I agree with you that this is probably going to be Mahomes' worst week of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Where I don't agree is that there isn't a fantasy owner in week 4 of the season benching Patrick Mahomes.
I hear you.
That's the only place I don't agree with you. But I do think that, I mean, it's like you said, the Bucs defense has been amazing, right?
Yeah.
Fee said to sit Aaron Rodgers against New England, which goes against everything that Dutton and I have said.
So we're not even paying attention to that this week. Normally we'd listen to him, but not this week.
I'm going to tell you to bench Matthew Stafford. He's throwing a lot. He's looking very Matthew Stafford-esque again, throwing a lot of interceptions, not a lot of yards, and not a lot of touchdowns to counter it. Cooper Kupp's touchdown last week came on the ground, which did no favors for Stafford. Plus, the 49ers defense is allowing 9.7 points per game to opposing quarterbacks. That doesn't bode well for a turnover-prone quarterback right now. So Monday Night Football, my guy is Matt Stafford to bench.
I like that pick. Let's do it.
Let's do Stafford. So let's move on to running back sits. What do you got?
Well, you talked about him, and that's why I'm sitting him, is David Montgomery against the Giants. I mean, he's banged up. They have an alternative in Khalil Herbert, so why not use him? So sit David Montgomery.
Yeah. J.K. Dobbins is who Fee gave us against Buffalo. The Buffalo run defense has been quite impressive. I want to throw this out there. I've been very hard on Chase Edmonds over the past 2 years. And last week, Chase Edmonds had 2 rushing touchdowns. And I got several messages from longtime listeners saying, see Chase Edmonds, or some were in that negative. Some were just, oh man, I got Chase Edmonds on my bench, just making the statement. But I want to point out there, Chase Edmonds ran the ball 6 times for 21 yards, and the receiving running back had 1 reception for 6 yards. You take away those 2 touchdowns, the guy had a 3.67 point day.
Right.
It was garbage. And he's not a guy, he's never been a multiple touchdown guy. That was an anomaly because their quarterback was looking at 22 defenders, like I said.
He had to give it to somebody.
Right? They took the trainer took their hand, the one hand, held it in front to his face and waved it and said, how many figures do you see? He said 15, and he said, good to go. That's what happened on that sideline, and they handed it off
100%.
to Chase Edmonds. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm going to tell you to sit Josh Jacobs. The Broncos have been very good against the run. Kind of like what you said, Dutton, about the Bucks. The only thing that I feel the Broncos are doing right now are defense.
Yeah,
They're the
right.
ones that went out and made the big splash on quarterback, and it hasn't paid off. I mean, they won. They're winning ball games, but
Right.
you know what I mean. So I say sit Josh Jacobs, and he didn't look very good last week anyway. So what do we think?
Let's do Dobbins against the Bills. The Bills is just too solid. And
Yeah.
Montgomery's a big question mark, so most people are going to avoid him anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. Dutton receiver. What do you got at receiver?
DK Metcalf against the Detroit Lions. DK Metcalf is not having a DK Metcalf type year. And you cannot blame that Russell Wilson picks a wide receiver and decides to use that one when we used to talk about Tyler Lockett versus DK Metcalf last year. I think on the season he has like 150 yards or something receiving for the whole year over 3 games. I mean, that's not really solid. I'm going to look those up right now. 135 yards and 1 touchdown on 16 receptions. Yeah, those aren't good numbers. I don't think you want that in your lineup this week. I mean, 135 yards and a touchdown is what you want in a game, not over 3 games. So,
and look, Detroit showed last week they're going to make your secondary receivers beat you. They don't care. They're going to pick your number one out of the game.
They can shut down Justin Jefferson. They can shut down DK.
Right. And they're just going to say, look, just beat us with, I mean, Lockett is very good, but I mean, Thielen was very good, and Thielen got in the end zone, so that's what they're going to do, and that's probably a good sit. Fee said Allen Robinson against the Niners. That was going to be my sit as well, but I didn't want to go Stafford and Allen Robinson, so I'm glad Fee threw him into the mix. My sits going across the pond. They're both banged up. First of all, did you know that this is I think I saw it. Are the Saints 2-1?
I believe they are. Hold on.
Yeah, hold on. I want to clarify this before I spit this out because it's terrible.
The Saints are 1-2, but they're second in the NFC South because that's how bad the NFC South is. Go ahead.
Okay, then maybe it's not this week's game. One of these London games, the Giants and Packers, could be, if they both win this week, could be the first time it's ever 2 winning teams against each other since they moved the games to London.
That's hysterical to think of.
It has never been 2 teams with a winning record against each other in London.
Yeah, we are not sending our best over there when we send
it.
No. We try to, but
and that's the other thing is, even if you send the best, they don't play the best. They're terrible games. They're going across the pond. Both Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry got banged up last week. I don't think Jameis Winston is all that great. He's chucking some yards, but most of it comes at the end of the game when they're down.
And he's back to interception, Jameis, too. You can't blame it on you can't blame it on his eyes. He got LASIK. You can't blame it on his color vision or color blindness or whatever. Yeah, Jameis, you just throw interceptions. Just own it.
And the rookie looked good. So I say bench Thomas and Landry, to be honest with you. But I'm good going bold and saying bench DK.
Let's do it. Let's give it a shot. Go Lions. If they're going to win, they have to shut down DK. So there you
go. Maybe that's why I want to do it, really subliminally rooting for a Lions victory. So let's go to tight end.
I'm sitting Gerald Everett against the Texans. I think he had his big splash a week or 2 ago, and then we won't hear from him a while, and then he'll come back with one big week when nobody's really paying attention, and then we won't talk about him again. So sit him this week.
Yeah. Plus Keenan Allen's probably back. He's already practicing, so that just pushes him further down the feeding pole. Fee said to start Irv Smith against New Orleans.
Sit Irv Smith.
Oh, sit. Sorry, I said start. Sit Irv Smith against New Orleans. And I'm going to tell you who I said to start last week. I'm going to tell you to sit Tyler Higbee this week. Again, going back to those Rams, the 49ers have allowed 3 receptions on 5 targets for 23 yards to tight ends this year. Tyler Higbee is not going to find separation against that defense unless there's some injury that I don't know about.
Stats don't lie. Sit Higbee.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned it last week. Sits at tight end is a stupid category, right? Unless you have one of the top 4 or 5 guys right now, I mean, pretty much everyone is sittable. You have to start one of these guys most likely, right? If you have Higbee, unfortunately, you probably have to start him, but we recommend sitting him if you can. So again, reviewing the sits, Matthew Stafford at quarterback, J.K. Dobbins at running back. We got a J.K. and a D.K. Metcalf at wide receiver. And let's just call him T.K. Higbee to close it out and have some fun. So we hope you enjoyed the show this week. Again, from me, Dunton, and I'm FanDuel Fee. We're signing off from the Fantasy Football Breakdown, and we'll see you next week. Go win some money.